right, hi guys, and welcome to Baja Talks. I'm your host Baird, and I'm here with my boy Patacussy and the other one. Because Zach is in the hospital, and also he doesn't read.
Yeah.
So, quick rundown of what we're going to be doing. Just reading Brandon Sanderson books. They've both read Mistborn. I've read all his books, so we're going to kind of go through the Cosmere as a whole. So there will be spoilers for Mistborn. If you haven't read Mistborn, probably don't listen to this podcast unless you want spoilers, because this entire first episode is going to be a rundown on Mistborn.
I guarantee if this takes off, 90% of the viewers will not be readers at all.
Yeah.
Maybe just don't even know how to read.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, yeah, it's all just going to be like...
That's why I have to listen to it.
It's all going to be illiterate people. We're going to reach like Alaska or something, where all they know is oil rigging and polar bears. I don't know.
What, they speak polar bear and oil?
Yeah, they speak Polish.
Well, they don't read. They just mine oil,
Yeah, they speak
bro.
Polish in the North Pole, bro. I'm surprised you didn't know this.
Yeah, my bad. I should have known.
Yeah, but essentially week by week, we're going to be going through each of the books in the Cosmere. Because they've started off with Mistborn, they've already read the first Mistborn trilogy. We're just going to do this first episode as a recap, then go into Elantris. So yeah, which one of you wants to go first with?
So are we just going to kind of go like book by book?
I mean, that's the easiest way to start, but we can talk around
you can do it
just
as
start,
like a...
Just start from the beginning, I guess.
Because you could do like full Mistborn trilogy and then like what you thought about each individual book, or you can just do it as a whole. It doesn't really matter.
Because overall, I really enjoyed it. It felt like different from other fantasy stuff in the way of like how religion worked in it. Where like, you know, you just had the one religion and like the other religions that started to pop up were categorically false. And it's weird that like the religion was propped up as like a good thing, even though it was categorically false. Like, you know, Calcier did not come back from the dead, but like
still has a lot of ties to like Christianity and stuff, though.
But the fact that like it was simultaneously completely false, known by all the main characters, but also treated with like a very high level of respect by the author was very interesting. Because a lot of times people who, you know, are religious will like treat the religions and stuff as like very sacred. But, like, oh, was I still going? Oh,
yeah, you were talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, what did you think, Patrick?
Was that all you had to say about all three books?
Well, I thought it was interesting, considering knowing the author is Mormon, how he almost... Because, like, the character Sazed, which is probably my favorite character, he... yeah,
I'll agree with
almost denounces... He does denounce his religion and loses his faith completely, and... in the end, he ends up becoming a god himself.
Yeah.
So he becomes the religion, which is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Just having someone who's religious, just, you know, have a character that...
Because even though he wasn't religious, the fact of religion ended up being what saved the world. Even, you know, if the religions weren't true, there was still, like, merit in them. Like,
yeah.
Which is something they teach you a lot in Mormonism, about how all these other religions have like a nugget of the truth, which... Yeah, I'm assuming most people listening to this podcast probably don't know, but all of us were LDS. So, yeah, Brandon Sanderson is also LDS. I think I saw someone yesterday saying online that Sazed is like a bad example of an atheist character because his arc is like super unrealistic. But
and it's like, no, that was incredibly realistic to me.
Yeah,
for
like,
me,
that makes sense to me. Like, it was completely believable.
Like, it felt so realistic that I feel like at some point, like, the author went through the same kind of thing. And then, you know, the difference between us
like, the thing with Sazed, like, because, like, with growing up religious, it's just something you didn't think about. It was just something that was just part of life. Like, with Sazed, like, he was just a keeper of religion, and he just kind of accepted it how it was. And then just something happens, just something clicked, and it just wasn't the same anymore. He just... did not believe it, and it was just like, just kind of put him down this path of depression and just not knowing what his purpose is,
and then eventually finding it.
Yeah.
Because the thing that was also kind of interesting is, like, before, he didn't think that the religions were true still. Like, that part isn't what changed. But it was just he all of a sudden didn't find any meaning in religion. Because before, like, he would suggest religions to people, even if he didn't think that they were true, because he thought that it might have some value to them. But, I don't know, I thought that was interesting, because it felt, I don't know, kind of similar to, I mean, what I went through, but I'm assuming most of us went through.
Yeah.
Like, it felt so realistic that it feels like Brandon also went through that at some point.
I mean, he probably did.
Yeah.
He said in like interviews and stuff that he has had similar experiences to that.
I don't know. It just felt a little bit too realistic to be just made up, you know?
Yeah. I also really like that the end of the second book like ties directly into his like religious thing being false, and that's what lets the power out of the well, because that like his whole world pretty much is just upended and turned on itself when it's all revealed that, oh yeah, the entire time like you've just been following this like creature's ideas and stuff that turns out to be ruin. And in the third book it like doubles down on that even more, and that failure of religion that he had before becomes the thing that lets him like save the world. And I love stuff like that like his religious thing is kind of like here's some characterization for him in the first book, and then it becomes a lot more important in the second book, and then the third book you're like, oh, this is why all of this was in the first book. Like this is why he's set up this way. Like the foreshadowing is just really good.
I also like specifically thought Ruination was very interesting, because like when he learned that all this stuff that he had thought wasn't like completely false, but it had been changed to the point where it made things different. Like, like the words that they had used were not the same words anymore. I kind of felt like the same revelation that I had for some of the religious stuff, where it's like the common things that were said were true, but like they weren't.
I mean, that's something they literally teach you that in like Sunday school. Like, oh yeah, like that's why you have like the Joseph Smith translations of the Bible and stuff, because it's like
one of the things that I thought was super interesting was like, because they talk about how like Joseph Smith came up with the idea for the word of wisdom, but like when you learn about some of the history around the time, like 10 years before he came up with the word of wisdom, there was sanitariums who were doing the exact thing that the word of wisdom was, where it's like the vegetarian diet without any caffeine or like coffee, tea, anything like that. Like pretty much exactly the same. Only difference is they encourage drinking a lot of water, whereas he didn't. But it's like, oh no, he just took that. He didn't come up with that. He just stole that. Like this thing was a big popular thing, and he just went.
I mean, I wouldn't say like
God told me to this.
Especially back then, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just something that he heard like parts of, and he was just like, oh, I can expand on that. Like,
yeah, but it wasn't something that like.
It wasn't like an uncommon thing, though.
Yeah, it wasn't, no one had ever come up with this thing before Joseph Smith did it.
Yeah, because, I mean, even as far back as, like, the Romans and stuff, like, there's been general laws of sanitary stuff, despite all the non-sanitary stuff the Romans did. But, yeah.
But just, like, things like that, I don't know, just...
What do you think about, like, the books as a whole? Like, the just overall plot and, like, stuff like that?
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy how he sets up twist at the end of the books that, like, you can kind of tell there's going to be something coming, but I can never guess exactly what it is. Like, and usually I also like that there's a couple of twists. Like, there's not just one big twist. There's, like, a couple of smaller ones, too.
Yeah.
Normally I can get part of it, but even if I get one of the twists, I do not guess the rest of them. Like, it's just...
Yeah, and, like... I think what makes his twist so good is that they're not just like, boo, surprise.
It's just
it wasn't what you expected at all. No, it's like, it's something that actually like impacts the story. So like it gives the story like reread value. Because like if the surprise is only good just because it was surprising, then it's not really good. Because then when you rewatch or reread, then it just, there's not really a point. But like, it's like every little twist has like some huge impact on the story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, because when you're doing like audience, like you're leading the audience one way and then you go the other, if you do it right out of just nowhere, then usually that doesn't work very well. I've seen it done like in a good way, like maybe once or twice. Usually that ends in people being like, "Oh, come on, what the heck is this?" But if you feed the audience so that, like you were saying, where you can kind of tell what's going on, but you still don't expect it, but the seeds are all there, that's when it makes it really like hit.
Like for a lot of them, he'll do, because I don't know if I don't think it's unique to him, but he does it very well, where he will give you information, then he will give you other information later, and if you put it together, then you'll figure it out. But because you were given the information out of order, unless you're really thinking about it, you won't put it together. Like
He's really good with like unreliable narrators.
yeah, but like because Vin will have the spike in her ear, and you know about that, and you know that it's like a spiked earring in her ear, but you don't find out about spikes and all that stuff till much later. But because if it had been in the other order, where you find out about spikes and she has a spike in her earring, it would have been like, oh, obviously.
What also helps is that the earring also does serve another purpose, and that's what the focus is. With throughout most of the story is that it's just kind of a reminder for her, or like a comfort thing that she does when she's like stressed out or whatever.
But the fact that like he sets it up where you get information and you get other information, but he does it in the specific order that makes it hard for you to put it together unless you're thinking about it. I think
because like and
makes
then
the twist very good.
Because like when it finally revealed like why the earring was so important, it was actually like a mind blowing moment because it made so much sense. Like it was like, how did I not think of that?
Yeah. Because it's something that he's like, the earring has been mentioned over and over again since the first book. Yeah. And so it's one of those things that you get used to, and it's like, it's there. Like, I remember reading the first book and being like, oh, they keep mentioning the earring. I wonder if something's going to, like, happen with that. But then by the time I was, like, halfway through the third book, it has been mentioned so many times that I was just like, oh, yeah, it's the earring thing again. Yeah. And I was like, wait a second, that was actually important. Like,
it's an earring. Vin's earring. Yeah, everyone knows Vin's earring.
Which is the same thing with, like, Sazed's, like, religion stuff and a bunch of the other twists where it just gets mentioned over and over again, and it's not necessarily important to like the second or third book, so you've grown used to the idea of it being there and you don't consider that as like the information stays in your head, but you don't think, I wonder what the twist with this information is going to be, because it just feels like it's part of the character now.
Because like in the second book when they're going to open the well, like when she figured out the well was in there, like I just had this like dread feeling that something bad was going to happen. I didn't know what, I didn't know why it was going to be bad, but I knew that it was going to be bad. And it got to the point where I had to like stop reading, like, and then I would come back and read a little bit and just be like, no, something bad's going to happen. But I can't have something bad happen. They're my favorites. I love them. Anyway, so I just kind of had to like keep starting and stopping because I was like, no, something bad's gonna happen.
Something bad's gonna happen. Yeah, I think the twist in the second book is probably one of my favorite book twists in general, just because of how I know a lot of people in the fandom like hate it because it's like all the heroes lose and everything's bad now, but I like it because it's like it turns everything upside down. Like for 2 books now you've been led a certain way, and then it's just like, nope, that was all like planned. That was all for the other side. Like you've been tricked for 2 whole books.
Yeah, like my biggest problem with the second book is mostly just like the very sluggish progression. Yeah, it's not that it's political intrigue, it's just that the progression is so sluggish. That it just feels like nothing is progressing. Like a lot of the time.
I did also enjoy it because like I forgot about it for a little bit, but I remembered it like pretty shortly into the third book. But where it just like casually brushes that, Zane has just a spike through him. That's just the thing he has, and I'm like, that's weird. He's not an inquisitor.
That was something I was really upset about. Is that it was mentioned? It was like, I wish he didn't mention that, because that would have been so much fun to go back and reread and realize why he was having that voice in his head.
Because like it wasn't like he had a piece of metal in him. Because he could have done that like with the other characters where they had a piece of metal, but they didn't really. It wasn't like a clear spike. Because when they're like, he has a spike, it's like, oh well, that's something. And then when it like the voice at the end was like, by the way, you weren't crazy. I'm like, oh yeah, that's got something to do with the spike. I don't know what, but it's got something to do with it.
Yeah. Zane is one of those characters where Brandon has said if he like rewrote them or something, or they did like a film adaptation, he would do the character better, because I'm not going to say he's like a bad character, but he's not super well written.
He's just kind of underdeveloped. He kind of just more so serves the plot.
Yeah, like, because he is crazy, but he's just kind of like normal crazy, where he just hears voices.
A lot of people also hate that he's like a love interest thing, but I think it was less like a love interest and more like a
another mentor almost.
Yeah, or like it was between like him and Ellen, and Vince having to choose like what kind of life, what kind of person do you want to be?
Because I never took it as romantic.
Yeah, I took it as more of like a.
If it was actually like romantic, then I would understand and I would be along with other people.
Yeah, but I saw him as more of like a goals kind of thing.
Yeah, I view it more as like a "you're just like me for real."
Yeah.
Where it's like we're the same kind of person, and like kind of tempting her to become the person that she used to be, as opposed to like the person who she wants to be.
Yeah.
Like that's more what I read it as.
What did you think about them both, Ellen and Vin, dying at the end?
I get it.
A lot of people hate that.
I wasn't happy about it. I was like, no, my blorbos.
I really like the way Ellen Winnow just gets fucking decapitated by Marsh.
Yeah.
Which I think Marsh is also like one of my.
Marsh is an awesome character.
I think he's probably like the best character in my opinion, or like he's at least at the very least a really really good antagonist.
Yeah, I love Marsh,
and I like that.
Well, is he? Because I mean, he's kind of an antagonist, but he's also kind of an anti-hero. Because Marsh is like the one who pretty much lets them like win by like struggling back against Ruin and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a really good character. Yeah. Most of the like main characters are really good. Some of the side characters like Doxson and stuff are super underdeveloped.
Yeah, bro.
Just something else.
I fucking shat my pants and pissed my diaper when Dox and Hammond died, bro. They were my favorite characters. I like the big guy with the big club. I don't.
Yeah. That was like his characterization. He's a big guy with the club.
Because you know how it's either in the first or second book, like. Vin's like, wait, hold on. This dude has a family. Like,
that's Ham. He's like, wait, you got kids?
Oh, yeah. he's got a family.
Yeah, and then at the end, wait, no, because he didn't die. He was at the end, then he gets reunited with his family, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end, it was just like him and his wife. I'm like, oh yeah, he's got a family. This guy got a family. Like,
yeah, that's one of the things that Brandon has also said, that he would redo the characters like different, and also I think he said he'd do Ham as a girl because. There isn't any other female characters on like in the main story other than Vin and Alrianne, and Alrianne is just a huge prick.
Yeah,
nobody likes Alrianne.
Yeah,
and like his family doesn't really serve too much of a purpose.
Yeah,
in the story. So
like he could very easily be interchanged.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't really.
When you were saying that, like for the movie, I was just imagining like there's just a scene where Vin comes in and he just goes. Oh, I miss my wife tails. like that just becomes this defining characteristic.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just made me laugh.
What did you think about the overall like the ruin versus preservation, like that thing that's more or less the overarching like theme of the story, but also the main antagonist versus like the mist and stuff like that? Which is another really good twist. I love that the mist is set up as like this awful thing that's killing the world and stuff, and then
but I don't know, I did kind of like it how they were both using her in the end, like because it did kind of feel like it was mirroring the like how it was with Zane, where it was someone tempting her to go back to like how she was previously as opposed to the person who she wants to be. It's like it did kind of feel good in that way, where it felt like it was kind of echoing stuff that had happened before. But I don't know. I wish that they kind of went into more of how it worked. I know it'd be kind of hard to explain because it's supposed to be...
I understood how it works.
Like, not how it worked, but like, I don't know, give more of like a visualization of it. But I know that is kind of hard to do when you're talking about, things that are like, beyond human comprehension. Like the when she's actually up there with him,
like as a god now.
Yeah,
it almost felt more like a metaphysical, like mental battle to me almost.
Yeah.
Like it was very heavily describing how Vin was feeling and how the world around her and her like new physical form was fell to her, and sort of like it just felt like more of an inner struggle. Almost, rather
because I
than
mean, it
an
is
actual
just kind of
battle.
hard to make something that's not a fight sound and be more interesting than just like an actual fight. Because the fights in the books are just so good.
Yeah,
They
the
are.
fights in the books are amazing.
Like I never knew like fights in a book could be so interesting.
Yeah.
With just using words, but Brandon did it somehow.
What do you think is your favorite fight in the book
Um,
from both of you?
I don't know. I do really like her fights with Zane, just because they're both Mistborn, and we don't see a whole lot of Mistborn versus Mistborn that doesn't end immediately.
Yeah.
Because like there is the one other fight where she fights against the
Sean, Ilariel, and she just dies.
yeah, like that fight's pretty short.
She used the power move of just turning off the ATM and
Yeah.
then just turning it back on, and then
yeah, like because that was basically the fight where it's like, oh, Mistborn fight other Mistborn, but like turn off and on the ATM, and then the fight ended. But like, it's hard to have another fight with the Mistborn when there aren't very many Mistborns, and one of them has to die in the end.
Yeah. Which actually, that brings up another twist I really like.
If she did just keep fighting Mistborns all the time, you'd be like, wow, there's a lot of
There's a lot of
There's a lot of
Mistborn.
Mistborn.
Are they supposed to be rare? Why are there so many?
bro, what are we? Some kind of Mistborn?
What are we, some kind of final empire?
Bro,
Like,
this is our final. This is the final empire.
But like, it was really nice.
Sawzed, you're the hero of ages.
Like,
I kind of like that name.
with Zane, where like they were kind of fighting, but neither of them wanted to like really kill each other till kind of towards the end, because they're still kind of hoping they could convince the other person. It was nice because then you got to have multiple fights between Mistborn without just immediately ending.
Yeah, that brings up a twist I actually really like, is the mixture of the Audium being Audie's body, Audie/Ruin, Audie being his like vessel, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but when Elend is like going through the forest and the body drops out of the sky and it's the guy with red hair, did you realize that was his body?
I don't think so.
Or that was Preservation's body? Because at that moment, Preservation dies and the body drops out of the... And then later, when they beat Ruin, the red-haired body drops out. Yeah.
Yeah, was there anything... Because I don't remember there being anything special about him having red hair. Was there something that I missed? Or did he just happen to have
Maybe
red hair?
perhaps Mistborn.
Yo, that's crazy.
Because, like, I mean, do the rest of the character... Does anyone else have red hair? Like,
I don't...
I mean, when I picture them all in my head, they all have, like, brown or black or blonde hair. But I don't know if that's just, like, how I'm remembering them or that's how they're actually described.
Yeah, I don't think any of them have really colorful hair.
They're not anime characters.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like the twist of the Audium being Audie's body, and also that combined with the Khandra, like the whole Khandra reveal at the end of the second book, being the Khandra is the Khandra taking over the Khandra.
Yeah. I really liked that twist.
Yeah. And then they also are the ones that have Audium's body, and in a way the Lord Ruler, even though he was like a sadistic, just complete crazy dude, he's still crazy.
Also, like, for the Khandra, I especially just like listening back to it where she's like doing all this to try to find the traitor, and then she's like,
meanwhile,
would this work? And he's like, you're fine.
Yeah, it's not
Don't
a problem.
worry.
Like,
Don't worry, he's not the traitor. You can trust me.
you can trust me.
know.
I know. Yeah, like it just I remember reading that and like being
he's
like,
just
I
like-
don't get it. I don't I don't
He's
know
just
who
like,
the
"No,
traitor could
stupid."
be.
He's like, no, stupid girl. It's not them.
It's not them. Don't worry. Yeah, I love that reveal.
It was very funny to be after the fact. Like all these things where he's like, dude, chill out. Okay, it's not
Yeah.
him.
Rereading that book and being like, oh, he was just like giving you hints the entire time, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah, that was just very funny to me.
Yeah.
I was like so lax when he's, like when he is the traitor.
Yeah, which I mean that's the best place to hide in plain sight.
But
so.
I really like him as a character. I also really like how later he's just like, oh, I'm so glad I have this human body instead of the wolf body.
The
I would
wolf
hate
body,
that.
that
It would be
would-
such a big punishment if you guys made me go back into my wolf body again. I would.
And then they're
hate
like,
that.
all right, here's the wolf body. And he's like, yeah, let's go.
It's like, oh no, oh no, like
yeah,
That
Oros
was
here's an awesome
that was
character.
just so good to me. I don't know. That just the fact that he was just so good at just manipulating other people,
Yeah.
like in the most casual way possible. Like, because like the way he does it isn't like aggressive or mean. He just is most casual. Like he just knows exactly what buttons to push.
Yeah.
I love him. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I think my favorite fight in the series is probably from book 1 with Kelsier in the Inquisitor in the like marketplace.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
that one's
Yeah,
also
because
very good.
what I really liked about it is just the Inquisitors are built up through the whole book as these just unstoppable force. Like if there's one in the area, you are fucked. Like you're gonna die. And then just having that cathartic moment where he just finally does it and just kills one in front of everyone.
Yeah. Where it's like, wow, turns out their weakness is you cut off their head.
Yeah.
that was just really funny.
Pull out their spikes.
I also really love at that point how you barely have like a grasp of allomancy, and then when you get inside Kelsier's head and you see the way he's like pushing and pulling on things to be like a whirlwind of like metal, it's just so cool seeing like how honed in it is, even though you barely have a grasp, but you also kind of understand what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like super high level allomancy.
I do kind of wonder something, because like he pushed out the spikes like partially when he hit him into the thing, and then he was able to just cut off his head. But
Yeah.
I wonder if they took the head and then just like put it back on the body, if they had like the gold stored up, if they would just reattach their head.
That's a good question.
'Cause
I'm
they
sure
never-
Brandon's answered something about that
like,
somewhere.
I mean, they go into like, you know, reforming like wounds, you know, like Caesar is able to just like, you know, like fix his stomach and all his organs that get messed up. But like, can you just reattach limbs? That's something you can do too. Is there like if you're almost like if you die, can your body just automatically do it? You know, like I don't know.
I mean, I don't think they could, because the whole thing with the Lord Ruler being basically invincible and like literally regenerating his body from bones and stuff was because he was compounding, and he specifically didn't let the
Inquisitors.
he specifically didn't let the Inquisitors have access to compounding, because then they'd just be as strong as the Lord Ruler. Like,
Just because the idea of like in that fight, he cuts off the head and everyone's celebrating.
they put the head back on, and then he's like, "I'm back."
And then the soldiers just come on, they just take the head and they do like that. And then they just come back alive.
That
It's
is
like,
time for round
two.
that
And Kelsier's like, he's right behind me, isn't he?
that picture is really funny to me, where he's just like, "Are you kidding me? This is a bullshit."
I also really like something that, if a live action ever does get made, the image of the Inquisitors is just so metal.
Yeah.
Just dudes with railroad spikes through their eyes is just such a cool design.
I also really want to see like, because there are multiple scenes where they have it like through the person's eyes who's an Inquisitor.
And you see all like the lines and stuff.
I want to see them actually do that, like with special effects. I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Mistborn is also a series that I think would translate really well to a video game.
Yeah.
Just because of how the magic system's set up and stuff. Like, that would just be so fun to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be very excited.
Yeah.
One day.
I'm sure it'll happen one day.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you know, there like The Witcher has gotten a game made, and there's like a couple others too. So I mean, there's definitely a chance.
yeah. And the Witcher games mostly been pretty well received, I think.
Yeah, even though the first two are kind of diarrhea dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know number
Also,
3 is like regarded as one of like the best fantasy video games of all time or
Just
something.
like one of the best games of all time in general.
Yeah. Yeah, so if they ever did make a Mistborn video game, I think it would go across super well.
Oh,
absolutely.
it was also kind of funny because like I ended up looking up like pictures, and then the mist cloaks were very different than what I imagined they would look like.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, did I read it wrong? And I looked through and I'm just like, oh yeah, I read this completely wrong. like when I was reading it, I imagined them as just like a cloak, but they had multiple layers to them. And I'm like, oh no, that's not what it said at all. I just completely misread that. I'm an idiot.
Yeah, that's kind of what I pictured too, like a cloak with just like the bottom kind of cut up a little bit, so it's kind of fluttery. But no, it's like full on like just weird,
which,
like ghillie suit almost.
Like, it is still a cloak, but like it's kind of impractical as a cloak. Like it wouldn't keep in the heat all that well, I feel.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're Mistborn, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I mean that.
They can, They aren't bothered by that.
Yeah.
Oh, but speaking of, because you had said earlier that like they were considering having Ham be a girl if they ever adapt it. It would be, I don't know how they would do that, like with him wearing just a vest all the time. Like
They'd probably change
like,
that.
Like I feel like that'd be a little.
He'd at least
wild.
get like an undershirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a girl wearing just a vest and nothing else. It's like, I don't know about that.
That is one of the things that Brandon has said, that he doesn't ever want to change like a character's gender just to be like, oh, look, there's a girl in it now. He would change Ham specifically because Ham is pretty much just a stereotypical thug.
Yeah,
Like the
Ham
philosophical,
really is just-
strong dude. Like that. It's just the most stereotypical thing possible.
I do also really like it because he does like the philosophy in the same way I do, where he just really likes to.
It just really likes to make stuff up and
really
argue.
Specific, difficult scenarios where it's like, I don't know, that would never happen.
Yeah. Which I think he works as a really good foil to then like Breeze's being super nonchalant about everything.
Yeah, I just really enjoyed Ham. He was a good guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the funniest review of Mistborn I've seen is just a 1-star review on Goodreads. It was just like, this is just some poor man's D&D campaign. And I was like, I mean,
Yeah, but that's not
I think that's
Kinda.
basically every modern fantasy
Yeah, that-
series.
every fantasy series. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I also really love, I don't know, I think this was expanded on kind of in the books, but with the ska, they were specifically like changed by Rashik to be able to handle the like ash and stuff after the whole Ash Mount things happened. But also he specifically made the ska as a lower class with a higher breeding capabilities, and then the nobles is like,
Yeah.
like he specifically changed their biology and stuff.
Yeah, because that was kind of interesting. Because in one of the earlier things, it's like it feels like there's like a difference between the two, and he's like, "No, that's just like people talking. That's just like classism." And it's like, "Oh,
It's like,
I guess
no,
it's just, like, an
the dude
actual
literally became God and was like, all right, you guys,
You
we're
guys
doing
are
separate
literally
things.
better than them."
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny.
Yeah. I also think the series has been called kind of grimdark at times for the setting, but I love the setting of Mistborn. Just the ash everywhere and like not feudal quite, but like that whole dystopian kind of evil overlord, like the most generic fantasy thing you can possibly have, but it's also kind of not, and it's kind of original. It's also interesting to note that there is no moon.
Yeah.
Scadrial does not have a moon, which is funny because the second Mistborn series is called the Wax and Wane series. So,
That's fun.
yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of odd. Yeah, because I guess I didn't pick up on that, but they don't ever mention the moon.
Yeah, there's never a moon mentioned.
I did also find it. There was one thing that was like kind of, I don't know if it was really supposed to be a twist, but it kind of made me go like, where it was like when you use tin, you can pierce like the mist, and like you were kind of supposed to catch on that like the mist
Is preservation,
and, like,
allomancy,
that-
and so you can.
like because of that, and I'm like, no, I'm like, they do magic all the time. Why am I supposed to assume that this magic works differently than all the other magic? You can make up whatever rules you want. It's magic. Like I don't know. That one kind of felt like, okay, well, there's no way I could have guessed that. Like that was the one twist where I'm like, yeah, there's no way that, like, even knowing that, I'm still like, because like it's not like the mist you can't see anything. Like the mist just get thicker and darker to see the farther you look ahead of you. So like it makes sense that the tin would make you look farther ahead of you. Like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That one kind of annoyed me.
Oh, what did you guys think about Spook? That's a character people either really love or really hate.
Well, yeah, I fucking hate him in the first book. Why? I hated the
Weird speech.
the
Was he the where it was?
Okay,
and then,
like,
the most garbage dialogue ever.
When I first read it, I'm just like, am I having a stroke?
I know. Oh
And
my
then I reread it and
God.
I'm like, oh no, that's just what it says. Okay. But I'm like, what is...
He served like no purpose in the first book, and then
Yeah.
second one he was kind of like a scout almost. He didn't really show up too much.
Yeah, he just kind of does not very much
Yeah.
until the third book.
But by the time of the third book, he actually is a really
yeah,
good
in the
character.
third
Yeah.
book he has like a full thing. But,
yeah, and then he starts seeing Kelsier, and he's like, "Yo, I got powers! Kelsier, you're so epic!"
As soon as he saw Calcier, I'm like,
something's wrong.
Yeah, I literally
wrong.
screamed out when I.
You're like, no way Kelsier's back from the
Yeah, I
dead
know.
talking to Spook.
I'm
That'd
like,
be crazy.
No, Calcier didn't come back from the dead, though. That's like the defining part
Yeah.
of the series. The fact that he's not a god, but people think that he was.
Yeah,
Like,
Kelsier coming back from the dead just to be like, Spook, here's some powers.
I was just
Bro,
like,
if
oh, this is-
Hollywood made Mistborn.
I was like, there's got to be something going on with like him getting stabbed, and I ended up being right about that. But I'm like, there's something going on. There's
Yeah.
no way like that he just actually came back. Either that or he's dying right now. Like one of the two things.
Okay, but what did you think about the end of the third book with Spook? Where like voice starts talking to him again.
What?
Yeah,
I
at
don't
the end of
remember
the
this.
third book. Like after
Oh, right. Sazed as God talks to him, right?
Yeah, and he's like,
Yeah.
yo, Spook.
Okay,
You get
that-
to be the king now, Spook. You
Okay,
get all the
I'm
baddies.
choosing everyone to talk to. I feel like that
Yeah.
because I feel like he'd be a little traumatized by voices in his head. You know?
Yeah, he's like, wait a second. This has happened before.
No, like I feel like if that happened, that he would just start like freaking out, like you know. Get
Especially
out of my
because
head,
Sazed
get out of
also
my
gives
head.
him full Mistborn powers. He's like, another voice giving me powers? What is this? This is the second time.
It would have been really funny if like he did like using his god powers, he sent down like like a himself in form of like Calcier and did it.
Yeah, just messing with him.
That would have been so
That'd be really
that would've been
funny.
great. Where he's like, no, it's actually me, Sazed. I'm just messing with you.
Yeah, that
Like,
would
would've
be
made me
really funny.
happy.
What
But
were
yeah,
you
that
gonna
was-
say, Patty?
Bro, I was gonna make a funny joke when we were talking about Kelsier coming back, but I mean, it's too late now.
No, you gotta say it anyway.
No, I was gonna say like, if Hollywood did it, Vin would come back to the whatever lair she's at this time, probably the castle. Someone like Han would be like, "There's someone here who wants to see you." They say they're an old friend.
Oh no!
Yeah.
And then it, like that's the very end of the movie, and then
Yeah, and
like
then he
you
just-
see like the shadows. He's like, "Hello, Vin," and then it cuts to black.
Yeah.
That's like the post credit scene.
I also I thought I mean like when the Khandra like when Tensoon or it was Tensoon, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah, when he came like as Calcier to those two guys, like
I love that.
yeah.
imagine you're just like hanging out, you know, doing your thing, and then God comes.
Yeah.
God just shows up and
Because
is
like,
hey,
yo,
guys,
what's up,
how's it
good?
going?" Like that would be just so wild. Like nobody would believe you, even though it happened. Like everyone would just be like, "What? God just came, just like, hey, how's the city doing?"
And then they base like an entire religion off of that. Which, to be fair, that's how most religions start. Just
Yeah.
these guys being like, God showed up and was like, yo, start a religion. I was like, okay. And then I told all my friends and
then,
family, and we all just, yeah.
And then later, when all these people show up, they're like, "Can I touch you?"
Yeah.
bro.
Yo.
And then Tensoon.
No. I just realized the implication. Not the implication, but the
the touching the robe, like in the Bible.
Yeah.
touching the hands.
Like the,
Yeah.
not, I know what word you're looking for, but I can't think of it. The, yeah, not the implication. Why am I blanking on this?
Bro, I know the
When
word.
two things
I
are
know the word.
Yeah. Similarities. No.
Connection.
No,
Nah, I know the word. Why am I blanking on it?
bro, we're not gonna be able to think of it right now.
Yeah. Yeah, overall I love these books so much for the not only scope, but the fact that the first book, and something I see a lot in fantasy series, is the books are almost episodic, and there's very rarely, like, take something like Lord of the Rings, for instance. I love Lord of the Rings, but there's very little carryover from like book 1 to book 3 because it's all about like the journey and like what's going on in the moment. And then Mistborn and the way Brandon writes is very you remember these little things from this like 2 books ago? Well, that's important now. And he's seeded it like enough in your head that it's not like, wait, I don't remember any of this. It's like, oh yeah, that.
I also like how like there is a little bit of time in between books. Like it feels more like a historical account in the sense that like you go through all the interesting stuff happening, and then when there's like a bit where nothing's kind of really happening, it just kind of gets like
stagnant
not skipped
and
over,
kind
but
of.
like it kind of just like
So it's like just time skip
it
a little
just
bit.
kind of hits the highlights of that part to get to the interesting part. Because like that's how it kind of probably.
Bro described every story ever.
I don't know, so because I don't know if it happens in like Lord of the Rings, but like in that one, it's like there are some books where it like literally takes place like the moment after the last one ended, as opposed to this one. There's like a year and a half between each book, and I liked that.
Yeah. I also just want to say that something I see a lot of people who haven't actually read very many of Brandon's books is they'll read like Elantris or something, and they'll be like, "Oh, he writes female characters really badly. You can tell it's a man writing these characters." But I think like Vin is a really good female character.
Yeah,
like Vin is what Hollywood should write strong female characters like.
Yeah.
Because there's no like she's not just it's a man, but she's a woman. Like
it's a man, except they have their chromosomes switched.
Yeah, like the
because there are
90% of like action heroes who are female.
But I did really like how she kind of goes on the journey where it's like she doesn't like being feminine and stuff because she's just been grown up to like not be taught that it's wrong, but be taught that like it's dangerous and that she should just be more masculine instead, but like learning that it's okay to be like a little feminine and that she enjoys being a little feminine.
Yeah, like it is okay for her to be a woman as opposed to just like a killing machine.
I feel like in a book that wasn't written as well, like she would put on the dress and that would just immediately become her personality, and like she would just completely change.
She'd be like, "Oh, I'm a princess now."
So, like that's literally like what would happen in like an anime, dude.
Yeah, she is still Vin, but she realizes, hey, wearing dresses and being pretty is also nice.
Like there's a repressed side of her that is still part of her that she accepts at a certain point.
And her learning to deal with that, I just really enjoyed that. I thought that was really well written. You know, that she doesn't just immediately change and become a stereotypical woman.
Yeah.
Because she isn't.
I've seen a lot of people say that she's a very like stereotypical like fantasy female protagonist, but I don't really think so.
Really think
she doesn't really match up with a lot of the like standard female characters, especially female characters that are like, this is the powerhouse female character. This is the one that like messes it up.
Because like she is skilled and she is kind of like headstrong, like a generic protagonist, but she does make mistakes. Like she is absolutely not perfect. Like
she is also like 16.
Yeah.
So
like she messes up in a way that like makes sense. Like when she messes things up, it never feels out of character. It always feels like, she is just a person after all,
Yeah. I think she's just written really well. Most of the characters, like her, Kelsier, Sazed, there's just a lot of characters in there that are some of my favorite fantasy characters. I also
really find it interesting that because Kelsier is only in like 2/3 of the first book, and he's not in the rest of the books, but he is considered still like a main character, I just find that interesting because I feel like with most of the rest of the characters, if they were in the same amount as Kelsier was, people would not consider them. I just feel like it's because Kelsier is just so good and so fun to have.
Yeah.
That people just remember him that well.
And his legacy, Kelsier in general is kind of the one who starts the whole thing off, and then his legacy is kind of what carries it over.
Yeah.
And also partially like allows Vin to like thrive as a person. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think he's a really well-written character, even though he's only in like 2/3 of the first book.
Yeah.
Which is so like the parallels to Christianity are so strong there because it's like Jesus doing his stuff through most of the book, and then he gets crucified, and then like everything else after that is just like, thousands of years later, people are still talking about Jesus.
Yeah.
And it's very cool.
Are people still part of like the Church of the Survivor in like the next Mistborn trilogy?
I will not comment on that.
Oh,
you will see.
Gotcha.
We'll see. Don't worry.
It's like a secret religion.
It's a secret religion.
Like you see someone walking around, they got a spear, and it's like, hey, and they spear.
Patrick, anything to add to that?
I did also find it funny how like he got killed by it. I did also find it funny that he got killed by a spear, and also they killed the Lord Ruler by a spear. Well, I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Add to what specifically?
Just anything. Any other thoughts? You look like you're in like the thinker pose right now, so it's like
well, Dylan's had a lot to say,
Yeah.
but something I really, really, really don't like is the dialogue. Sometimes it can be kind of painful to read sometimes. Like, it's very corny, and
some of the characters really do have their catchphrases.
yeah, they have their catchphrases and their one-liners, and then it just feels like, oh, look at these characters. They tease each other. They love each other. Look how much they love each other. They make fun of each other.
to be fair, that is kind of how we all talk.
No, I know.
Like, it is pretty.
I know it's accurate, but just the way it's written, I don't know.
It can be.
I
a
don't know
little
if
much.
it really translates well to books.
I do find it kind of funny how like for, I'm forgetting his name, the Vin's husband.
Elland?
Elland.
Yeah, Elland. Like, he has the same thing that he says all up until he gets his training. Like, he says the same thing every time when he starts his discussion.
What does he say?
Like, I forget what it is, but it's like, now listen here. Or like something like
Yeah, something like that.
Like, he says like the same thing every time, and then
Raises his eyebrow, shrugs. Now listen here.
Yeah, listen here.
and then the lady training him to be a better king is like, could you
Twindle.
stop doing that? You say that like every time. You quit it.
Yeah.
And he's like, now see here. But just like every time. I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
How, like, they point out that he keeps saying it.
I do also really like Twindle as a character, even though she's only in this, like, most of the second book. I think she works really well as a foil for Sazed, and also really well as a plot device for Sazed. Like, I really want to see that, like, the ending battle of the second book in like a movie, just because of how cinematic that, like, Sazed in his like super huge form, like holding her body, and there's like ice everywhere and just piles of like dead Koloss and stuff. And I just think that would look super cool. Yeah.
Oh, also, like, I don't know. It felt like it was just kind of like it's a Mormon, like, right in the book when like, because it never says that they have sex, but it is
There are multiple times.
There are multiple times where it's like implied, like,
Yeah.
if you're like, if you know what sex is, you're like, oh yeah, they were probably having sex. Where it's like they're both naked in a tent, like sleeping next to each other. It's like,
Which I do like when they're sleeping in the tent and they come out and Spook's sitting out there and he's got like his super senses or whatever
Like,
that
yeah,
is so
so-
bad he has like the thing over his head, so you
he
can
would've been
definitely hear it
hearing
going on.
Like, he would have been hearing those things.
Yeah.
I don't know, like the fact that like it doesn't even like it's just like they were naked. They were
It's very like fade to black. Like
like I don't know. It was like, yep, he's sure a Mormon. Yep.
Well, I mean, it's not really necessary.
yeah,
It would
not
serve
add
no
anything.
purpose at all.
That's one of the things I really don't like about like Game of Thrones is just the unnecessary amounts of like people being spanked and all that kind of stuff.
It is excessive and unnecessary. Like you can.
Because, like, I'm not asking for, like, 3 chapters, but, like,
Yeah.
it would have been nice to have, like, a little bit. Like,
Bro,
I could have had a little bit.
I would not have liked that. At all.
I'm good without that. I don't.
Yeah, that just the fact, because I forgot about that. The fact that Spook's traveling with them, and he's just like,
Yeah, he's just like, oh my god, stop it.
he's like, I can hear everything in great detail. I know exactly what's going on.
Didn't he
inside my
explicitly
head."
say that too?
No, but he's right there.
I think he mentioned something about.
I'm pretty sure he mentioned it at one point.
I don't know, but just that was very funny.
I do really like Spook's line when he's like kind of stalking, because Spook's a weird character towards the
Yeah.
end. He's
He's
kind
kind
of
of a
stalking
weird
that
guy.
one girl, and he like walks up
Oh,
to her and he's
yeah.
like, I know why you're sad. It's like, bro.
The way he talked to her is like he views himself like a superhero.
Yeah, like it's super like self-important. Like, I'm so cool. I'm Spook.
It feels like he was suddenly written by like a Hollywood exec.
But to be fair, he's also like 15 or something, so that he's
Yeah.
kind of like, he's got that teenage boy like, I'm so cool. I am the best. I am the Spook. I saved that family from a burning fire. I am basically Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I had to say about the Mistborn books for right now.
I don't think if there's anything else.
Next episode, we will be doing Elantris, the prologue through chapter 4. And Patrick's already read Elantris.
Yeah.
Bro speed read it, but he's still gonna give his thoughts and stuff. And Dylan's gonna read along, and then we'll probably go through the book faster than usual, and then do
Warbreaker or 11th or Secret History.
yeah, probably Secret History, which has 11th Metal, and then also the Secret History section, and go from there. So yeah, and then I'll figure out an order after that.
Oh,
but that's how it's looking right now.
I did remember another thing that I thought was kind of funny while reading it, because like they have the 16 like people get like the 1 in 16 people get sick, and like they all get like different, things, and it's like it would have sucked so much to be like, oh wait, hold on, I might have gotten like Alamancy. Oh, I got Duralumin, which does nothing by itself. Thank you, yay,
Yay!
Like that would have been so sad. Like you have all these people who have like been with you because you guys have kind of been outcast, and then they all get like one gets like pewter, one gets like all these other things, and
you're like, yeah, I got the.
like all of them at least do something by themselves. That one literally does nothing unless you're a Mistborn. If you're not a Mistborn, it's literally useless.
Yeah,
that would just suck so bad. Like, anyway. I
or the ones that can only burn gold.
Yeah.
Because that at least has like some like, it has some use, like practically none. But like Duralumin literally has no use unless.
Yeah.
Doesn't gold just let you see your past?
It lets you see like a potential future, like if you go 2 different directions.
Oh.
Which is pretty useless.
Well, no, because the 11th Metal is the one that lets you see the future. Or we know 11th Metal lets you see the past. My bad. Yeah, gold is future. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like gold is like really lame inward Duralumin,
Vin
or not Duralumin, Audio.
She sees like a very frail, like kind of like street rat version of herself, and then a very like pretty princess version of herself. And she's like, "Whoa, what's going on here?"
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that would have some like practical use.
Yeah,
it'd be more like a self mastery thing, but
probably not. Like in the final battle,
because it does something.
Yeah, probably not.
And you just learn how to use it.
It's better than literally something that does nothing.
Yeah, Duralumin does literally nothing.
Because every single other metal does something.
I'll have to check and see if Brandon said anything about that. If maybe they get some kind of like energy boost or something like that.
That would just be so funny to me that just all your friends get cool powers, and you're
like, woo, I get it. It'd be cool if like the Duralumin, like if you hold someone else and they use their power, if you could give them a boost or something.
That'd be cool.
But
it just kind of like, when I was thinking about it, it just felt like the Charlie Brown scene where it's like, I got candy.
I got rock.
Like,
yeah.
That just made me laugh really hard when I was thinking about it.
Yeah. Where predictions from you guys? Where do you think we're going for like Secret History and 11th Metal? What do you think those are about?
11th Metal's about Kelsier, right?
Yeah, 11th Metal is a prequel. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay.
Secret History,
though? So yeah. I think 11th Metal, because when they were talking about it, they were talking about like all these stuff, like no one had ever heard of the 11th Metal. So like it was like said, or I don't know if it was said explicitly, but like that Ruin had kind of guided Kelsier into it. Like that he wouldn't have found it without Ruin. But I don't know. So I think that might be a little bit interesting.
Secret History, my guess would be the true story of the Hero of Ages, like that full story between Alendi and Rorschach. Not Rorschach, but
Rorschach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which that is another thing I struggle with is all the names in Mistborn, because it's based off like France and all that. It's like it's supposed to be like Kelsier and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I do not want to say that. Or like Sahazid or something like that.
Yeah.
It's something crazy. It's just like I don't want to learn any of these names that way. I just say them how I hear them.
I hate French people.
Yeah. Yeah, unrealistic book. They would have all surrendered within the first night.
But I really hope that if they turn it into something where it's like live action, that they use the non-awful pronunciations. They don't use the French.
Yeah, that's something Brandon has said, that he's like, yeah, I don't know what I was thinking with that. It was it was cool at the time because I was like, yo, but
I love it when writers are just like, yeah, that was my bad.
Yeah. I mean, that's better than being like, no, you guys are just stupid. It's cool. Accept it. Yeah.
But if they make them all like, if they make them keep the French pronunciation and just like they hire only French actors, I'm not going to watch it. I am going to kill you.
Oi, Vin.
Oi, the Lord Ruler.
Oi, Vin, you have burned the baguette. Oh, no.
Vin, we need more boxing in this.
We need more boxings. Head to Paris.
An Inquisitor comes.
He's got baguettes through his eyes.
Oh no, they have Syrian ox. Oh no.
Oh no.
Sazed, you are the hero of ages.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would absolutely hate that.
Yeah, that would be awful. That seems like one of those like this scary movie or something, like that really bad spoof movies. That's something they would do.
Yeah, I also hope that like they do something about like they don't translate it 1-to-1 for Spook's accent when he starts talking, because I'm gonna get an aneurysm.
I'm sure that'll be changed if they even keep it at all.
Yeah, I'm hoping they.
It's pret's funny though, because it's like street slang, but it's
so
awful.
bad.
It makes me feel like I'm having a stroke. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like it. I can't follow what they're saying at all.
Yeah.
It's like it's just like hyper condensed words, and even when they explained it, I'm like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, what do you think Secret History is about? Patty says the story of like Alendi and Rashek and stuff.
Oh, I think it might be either that or about like the Lord Ruler and like him in like his early days, or like people dealing with the Lord Ruler in his early days.
That's basically
then,
what
like-
I said, because he's Rashek. Rashek is the Lord Ruler.
I thought when you were talking about like the journey leading up to him getting power, because I was thinking
Oh, that's
it was
what I
gonna be,
meant
like,
too. Oh, okay. You mean like the history of after he got the power?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
after he
yeah.
got the power, when he makes the
Le-
history secret.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
you
would
know,
make more sense.
When he secrets the history, and that's why it's called Secret History. Well, I think it'll be one of those two, maybe.
Okay.
Well, that's why I thought it was secret history, because it was changed. The history, actual story of Alendi and Rashek was hidden.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Now, next episode will be Elantris, the prologue through chapter 4, and then after that we'll do Secret History. But yeah, that's Baja Books. We'll see you guys next
Yeah, this
time.
was a long one.
Yeah, we had a lot to talk about because we had 3 full books to cover.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair.
All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.